If I were to ask you to name a death in all of the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure anime from the top of your head, which scene would you think of? Now, there are many moments that I'm sure you could think of, but I would strongly guess that many of you would have thought of a certain bubble boy who had a crushing defeat.
Thank you all. I'll see you next week.
Jokes aside, Caesar's death is not only one of the most memed deaths in all of anime, but also one of the most important in the JoJo's Bizarre Adventure series. It's an essential moment for both the character growth of our main protagonist, Joseph, but also one of our antagonists, Wamu. But if I asked you, besides the scream and the cross, because everyone remembers that, if I asked you specifically, what is so memorable about that scene? I'm sure a good amount of you would remember a soft harp playing in the background, followed by the soothing voice of an operatic tenor.
Soffia, dolcemente, venticello.
In case you couldn't tell, today on OST Playback we're talking about il mare eterno nella mia anima. Translated to English, it means the eternal sea within my soul. Or as the American JoJo fans would say, Caesar's death theme. Since this is the first episode of this new series, let me give you a bit of an idea of what you're getting into with this video. Hi, I'm Riverdude, and welcome to OST Playback, where we go into a deep dive behind some of the most iconic music in all of anime. We will explore the musical language, lyrics, phrasing, and whatever else I can think of to stretch this video out to 20 minutes. So, sit back, relax, and let's rewind into the immortal soul of Caesar's death theme.
Sulla volta, celeste,
Now, for those of you who aren't well-versed or knowledge in musical terms, don't worry. I'll try my best to explain everything the easiest way possible. However, unlike many other songs I'll cover in this series, Anima is probably the most musically complex song we'll discuss for a while. So I'm gonna teach you some things. I'm gonna learn you good about some musical language, boy! Sorry about that. Now, Anima is what is called an aria. An aria, according to Google, is a long accompanied song for a solo voice, typically one in an opera or oratorio. Essentially, it's when one singer sings by himself along with an accompanying instrumentals, such as piano or an orchestra. Now, you can probably notice that this song is an opera automatically with the incredible vocal performance by Kohei Yamamoto, an extremely talented and accomplished tenor who has a doctorate in opera from the Tokyo University of the Arts Department of Vocal Music and has won countless awards for his amazing voice. Like, seriously, check this guy out performing Mean Monkey. The dude can freaking sing.
dentro l'anima, anche potrei cercarmi un'altra donna, ma m'ingannerei.
You might not be as fangirly as I am right now, but trust me, as a tenor myself, I have a huge love for Yamamoto's voice, and this song is essentially made for his voice in mind. This song is truly a spectacle of a piece. Composed by Taku Iwasaki, he composed the song like a piece straight out of a Giacomo Puccini opera. The musical language and style of this piece is absolutely incredible, and extremely different from the techno pieces of the Battle Tendency soundtrack that we're used to. Why do I know that? Because unlike most of the other songs I will cover in the future on this channel, I have the actual sheet music for this. If you're wanting a PDF copy of the sheet music yourself, then I highly imply you to look in the description below for a link to send you to that PDF copy so you can download it and you can read the music as well, because trust me, you're gonna want to follow along with this. Hi, this is Post-Edit Riverdude, and I'm just here to say that, well, yes, this sheet music is good and will be useful for this entire dissection. It is not in the right key. I will be talking about it being in the key of D major the entire time, but the music sheet that you will be seeing in the PDF copy is actually in E flat major, so it's a half step higher. So it's useful, yes, but if you are wanting to play the song in the original key, you need to transpose it down a half step, just in case anyone wants to perform this song or wants to play this song. Just getting it out there now because I know someone's going to mention that in the comments. Now, let's get to analyzing. This song is in D major and proceeds very differently than most arias do, because it's in rondo form. Many arias are written in the da capo form instead of rondo. It's not that important to know what da capo form really is, but if you're interested, check the links below. Now, rondo form is essentially the repetition of the refrain, usually in the form of A, B, A, C, A, B, A. Now, I'm sure you're wondering what the f*** I'm even talking about and why this even matters. So I'll skip over the crash course of first semester music theory and say that these letters refer to a certain sections or episodes of music. And when that letter is repeated, it means that section of music will be played again, sometimes with different changes to the section to make it more interesting. Now put a pin in this formula because it will be important for the end of this video. So now I'll stop pre-learning and get to the actual dissection of the song. Students, get your handbooks and text sheets out so you can be better prepared for this. Anima starts off slower and quieter to introduce the audience to the singer and to make sure they listen to what he has to say. The use of the harp gives it an almost heavenly feel to it, which will make sense as we proceed through the piece. As Yamamoto comes in, his first words are, Soffia, dolcemente, venticello. Note, I do not speak Italian, so if I mispronounce that, please don't tell me in the comments, I'm pretty sure I did. Also, fun fact, the first note that the vocalist starts on is an A, which in the key of D major in solfege, D is the do and A is the so. So technically, if you use solfege, you would still start on the same syllable as the original lyrics. Just thought you might find that interesting. Okay, back to the video. Anyway, his first words translate to, a gentle breeze blows. Which is why Yamamoto starts off softly. He wouldn't sing it like, Soffia, dolcemente. That wouldn't make sense. He continues, Spirate nel mio cor, expire my heart, which is why the pitch starts higher and ascends to symbolize that pain in the heart. Caesar has gone through a lot of pain in his life, losing his father, friends, and comrades to the Pillar Men. So Caesar's inner pain is being made known already, so early in the song, to make sure you understand that this is Caesar's song from the heart. No bullcrap. He continues, Mia dea Fortuna, my goddess Fortuna. Fortuna being the Roman goddess of, well, fortune. Pretty f***ing obvious, I do say so myself. But also luck. Fortuna was used a lot in Renaissance music and literature, specifically in Monteverdi's opera. Okay. Let me try. L'incoronazione di Popea. I think that's right. That's all you're getting from me. Which features Fortuna, contrasted with the goddess of virtue. But I think why this line is so connected to Caesar is because of his Italian roots. The blindfolded depiction of Fortuna is still an important figure in many aspects of today's Italian culture, where the dichotomy of fortuna and sfortuna, luck and unluck, plays a prominent role in everyday social life, also represented by the very common refrain, La dea fortuna è cieca. It comes from the Latin term fortuna cieca est, which translates to, the goddess of luck is blind. This basically means that Fortuna will either give you good luck or bad luck, and you can only hope that luck will favor you. Caesar is crying out to the goddess Fortuna to spin her wheel of luck. Whether it's good or bad, he'll accept the consequences.
Sulla volta celeste, c'è il mare eterno, nella anima.
It continues, Sulla volta celeste, c'è il mare eterno nella mia anima. On the celestial vault, there is an eternal sea in my soul. The title of the song, Il mare eterno nella mia anima, the eternal sea within my soul, is now finally being said. This symbolizes how Caesar's soul is constant and continues to rage on like a sea on the cosmic plane, ending his sentence calmly on the E flat, resoluting back to our tonic perfectly. Now, rondo form has already shown its head multiple times in this one section, because guess what, kids? There can be rondos and rondos! But to make things simple, I'm just going to take that entire section and call it the A in rondo form. Got that? Alright, put a pin in that. Let's continue. We then shift to the relative B minor for the phrase Con un sol fulmine, capirai tal leggenda. With a single bolt of lightning, you will understand this legend. The brief moment of light from the lightning shows a glimpse of the legend that is Caesar and his soul. So grand that it barely needs to be seen to be understood. The single flash from the lightning is all that it takes to understand the magnitude that is his soul and his will. This is his final stand, and he will be remembered for this. He'll make sure of it.
Quando pensi sempre, Bisbiglierò.
Quando pensi sempre, Bisbiglierò. When you think of me, always, I will whisper. His presence will never fade away, to where he will always linger on as a voice. This is an almost assurance to his friends and loved ones that he will never truly be gone, and that his spirit will live on inside them, speaking to them. Caesar now knows that his death is imminent, and he is now trying to comfort those he will leave behind, but also himself. Musically, this is represented by ending on the F sharp, which is the third of the D major chord which we switch back to. Normally, if you want to end a phrase, or in arias as it's called, a point, you end the last note with a tonic note, either the perfect fifth or the dominant one. So when you end it here, it means the point isn't finished yet.
Sulla volta celeste, c'è il mare eterno, nella anima.
Because once again, we hear Sulla volta celeste, c'è il mare eterno nella mia anima. On the celestial vault, there is an eternal sea in my soul. The return of the A after our excursion into B, rondo form in essence. We've returned to our main point to get it through the listener's head that Caesar's soul is eternal and immortal. But now comes the fun part.
Ovunque tu vada,
Suddenly we shift back into the B minor, and the song has grown louder, with Yamamoto starting to sing in the upper portion of the staff, Ovunque tu vada, ovunque io vada. Wherever you go, wherever I go. This is now a declaration to the person in question, in this case Joseph, saying that he will always be with him. Unlike the last point, this is directed more personally to his friend and comrade, giving the most assurance of all.
c'è il mio amore nella tua vita,
In a descending sequence by a whole step to mimic that of speech, it continues, C'è il mio amor nella tua vita. There is my love in your life. Yamamoto stretches his voice above the bar with the high G as if Caesar is reaching for his friend from beyond death to say that his love will always be a part of him. He then calms to say, C'è l'amor nella tua giornata. There is love in your day. He states that with his love, his friend will never be without it in his life or day. Caesar has gifted Joseph with his spirit, and that spirit will always be a part of him. The last of his life. His final hamon. Now, of course, the next part is the part we all know and love. The orchestra crescendos into forte. The piece also says appassionato, which means with passion, and you can definitely hear it in the original recording. As it crescendos, you can almost hear Joseph cry out in the desperate voice, Caesar! Longing for his friend, who he feels is long gone. Yamamoto continues, Basta un tuo sorriso, un tuo sol sorriso. Just a smile from you, your only smile. Similar to this entire song, he repeats this style of wording, saying that only his smile is the key to something. Joseph's smile is what Caesar knows to be the key to something. But what could it be? Yamamoto winds up his voice with non morirà, my soul. And then he belts out at the top of his lungs, l'anima mia è immortal. Will not die, it is immortal. This is the key to this song, the big moment where Caesar declares triumphantly that his soul will never die, that he is immortal. This is greatly emphasized by Yamamoto's incredible singing and vibrato, holding the high A expertly and strongly. This part knocks you off your feet and hits you to the very soul, just as the song says. Caesar is not dead. His soul lives on in Joseph. The final ripple shines brightly in the dark. But it is not meant to last.
Non serve versar lacrime.
The song decrescendos down to mezzo piano, as Yamamoto sings, Non serve versar lacrime. No need to shed tears. Even though his life is over, he does not want people to mourn him, for his soul lives on in those he loved. The song then ends, fading out into pianissimo, as Yamamoto holds the D note, ending the entire song on the tonic, like all good songs should. Now, if you were paying attention to the rondo form I've been talking about, you may have realized that this last part of the song never got mentioned letter-wise. That's because this entire last section has been the C in the rondo form. Or, if anything, it's CC plus the ending coda, but let's just simplify it all down to just C. Music geeks, don't hurt me. If you put the entire song together, that makes it A, B, A, C. And that's it. And remember that pin I told you to remember? Rondo form is usually A, B, A, C, A, B, A. So, where's the rest of the song? If this was like Rondo, the piece would restart with Soffia dolcemente, just tweaked a bit. But it isn't. It ends. Abruptly. Suddenly. Unexpectedly. The ending is so sudden, after such a display of power and emotion. You would figure it would go on longer. But it didn't. This was deliberate. Caesar's life was cut short after his display of emotion with his final hum on bubble he saved for Joseph. And he died. Abruptly. Much like the song. A perfect musical example to explain the sudden loss of a young life. Il mare eterno nella mia anima is a prime example of music telling as much of the story and emotion as the anime, without any voice acting, sound effects, or animation. It's a piece that holds so much power in the listener simply due to how memorable and unique it is. Sure, we may remember Caesar! But I would argue this song made it just as iconic as that line. There are many songs on an OST that you would never remember if you hadn't just listened to it. But this song is definitely not one of them. If you hear this song once, I'm almost certain that you will never forget it and what it represents. Why? Because much like Caesar, it is immortal. Thanks for watching.
Non serve versar